Tuck jump into a back handspring swing down. That's one of the special requirements on the balance beam, to combine dance elements with acrobatic elements. It's a knee turn, actually much more difficult than it looks. There's an aerial front tuck here. Major break, 0.5 of a point.
What a disappointment for Coach Suzanne Yocklin.
That is Georgia's second fall, so they will now have to count one of the two low scores. Under dismount, round off, layout full twist. But as I said, they are going to have to count one of these breaks.
And with that fall, Julie Ponstein can do no better than a 9.15.
They will drop the 9.0. They still have one more gymnast to go, but they're going to have to count that 9.15.
Not a good rotation for Georgia. Okay, this is Rochelle Fruget of LSU, a junior from Baton Rouge.
And LSU just missed qualifying for nationals last year, so to find themselves in the final 6 is extraordinary. This is a very entertaining routine. Nice turn. Rochelle opens with a very unique pass. Does a front layout, step out. Pewter, always a smile. I do, however, find the sock that she's wearing very distracting in fashion if you wore those socks. Prepares for her middle tumbling run. Front somersault. Through to a layout with a full twist. Although Rochelle is doing a great job here, LSU is really in trouble after their first rotation. They had 2 falls there. They already have a low score on floor exercise. It's going to be very difficult to try and come back from that. The last pass, another Rudy right into a layout step out. Very unique. Beautiful routine, but as I said, LSU is really out of the top 3 at this point.
Nevertheless, a good score for Rochelle Fruget, a 9.775. And after 2 rotations, Nebraska has the lead, but keep in mind only 2 teams have completed 2 events. We're back at Gill Coliseum. Nebraska is on top of the leaderboard, but because of the byes, those numbers are misleading. In reality, if you take a look at the average score of each team so far, you see Utah in front, followed closely by Alabama and Nebraska. The gymnasts are warming up now for the 3rd rotation. Utah moves over to the uneven parallel bars, while Alabama will perform on the balance beam. And for this event, the Lady Utes go with their great leadoff competitor, Chris Takahashi.
And this rotation will really show the head-to-head competition between Alabama and Utah. Utah, just like Alabama, is very strong on this event. Look at this move, a giant half turn to a high Jaeger. One of the highest you'll see in the competition. Nice body position, very straight lines. The dismount up front with a half and a good landing. Great start for Utah.
And again, Kathy, that's critical for Utah in this rotation.
Absolutely. This is an event where they're very capable of high scores. Watch this gorgeous Jaeger, way up in the air, finishes it well above the bar.
Chris Takahashi has done the job, a 9.775. Sarah Patterson knows her Alabama team has to match that level of competition as they get ready for the beam, and that's the event she feels is crucial to the championship.
Beam has been our best event. I think we're the #1 beam team in the country right now by the statistical service, and it's just brought us through in a lot of big situations. I think that's the key to the meet. I think you might even sustain a narrow break here and there in other events, but I don't think you can win without a great beam performance.
And Kim Masters is hoping for a great one here today.
Back handspring layout step out, perfect landing. Alabama has been great on this event all year long, and Sarah is right. Usually the team that wins the beam wins the championship. This routine is critical to Alabama. The lead-off routine is like in baseball. The lead-off batter must get on base. You count on them to do that. She sets the pace, both psychologically and score-wise. Doing an excellent job so far. Very solid. Here's the dismount. Round off layout, full twist, and a great landing. Good start here.
And Kim Masters sends a message back to Utah with a 9.725 on the beam.
If they can keep this up, they will really put a lot of pressure on Utah when they get to beam.
And here's former Olympian Missy Marlowe ready to perform on the uneven bars.
Missy is one of the greatest uneven bar workers, really, that the United States has ever had. She's a Pan Am gold medalist in 1987, as well as a finalist in the World Championships. Beautiful Stalder work. Nice reverse hex. Little originality there, the flare movement. You can see the beautiful toe point. Just perfect form. Giant swing. Another split handstand right to the dismount. Toe on front with a half.
Kathy, it would seem that routine should keep Utah's momentum going.
Utah has done great on this event. Very high scores, good performances.
And a 9.85 for Missy Marlowe. Nice recovery after that rough start out on the vault. Well, if anyone can answer that Utah challenge, it is Dee Dee Foster. Her career best on the beam, a 9.8.
It's really nice to see Dee Dee get the recognition she so deserves. At one point, she was the top junior in the country, and between 1984 and 1988, she was one of the top senior gymnasts. Qualified for the Olympic trials, but couldn't compete because of an injury. Beautiful lead pass. One of the requirements, called the Gymnastics series, combining dance elements. You can see the concentration. She doesn't want to give up any tenth of a point. Here's her most difficult pass in the routine. 2 back handsprings to a layout step out. A little bit off to the side, but she pulls it right back. Sign of a good competitor is one that can make those slight corrections. Tuck jump right into a standing back somersault. Little balance break there. Those are only minor deductions. This year is the first year that the judges can take a half a tenth of a deduction rather than a tenth of a deduction. Double back dismount. Well done. Very difficult. One of the only ones performed in the competition.
And the fans think she's perfect. That was the kind of performance Sarah Patterson needed to keep the Alabama momentum going and to keep the pressure on Utah and Coach Greg Marsden. All right, this is Corrine Wright on the floor trying to make up for Georgia's poor beam performance.
Corrine is very capable of high scores, particularly on this event. Very strong tumbler. She's done well so far. Preparing for her last tumbling run. She ends with a double back, which is very difficult at the end of the routine. And nicely done.
Nice work by Corrine Wright. But it's Alabama who's celebrating as Dee Dee Foster scores a 9.825 for her beam performance. That's a new personal best for the freshman. And for her part, Wright comes up with a 9.75 from the floor. We are halfway through this championship, and the Lady Utes hold a slim lead over Alabama, followed by Nebraska, Georgia, UCLA, and LSU. We'll be back after a word from your local station. On the campus of Oregon State University, the flowers are in bloom. Not quite so serene inside Gill Coliseum. We are at the halfway point, and we have a real battle shaping up between Utah and Alabama. Nebraska is a close third. And in this rotation, the tie moves to the floor. Nebraska to beam. Utah, meanwhile, has a bye, and they will stay as far away from the competition as they can get. The pressure is already on Allie Blumberg. She cannot afford to make any big mistakes because her teammate, Shay McFall, already bobbled a landing in her floor routine. And that would be the score they would like to throw out. Once again, Allie Blumberg on the floor.
Allie is a great story. She was diagnosed as a child with a learning disability and wasn't sure about a college career, but she's done quite well. Oh, double back on her last pass, and that's another fall for Alabama. What a shame. She is such an inspiration to the whole team. As I said earlier, with the help of tutors and the support of her teammates, she's been a great team member and a good college student.
Well, this is turning out to be a rotation that could come back to haunt Alabama.
It's really unfortunate. Usually it's the balance beam that tells the story, but here it's the floor exercise. She tries a double back on her last pass and just gets her feet too far under and over-rotates it.
And a disappointing 9.10 for Blumberg.
So right now they'll drop that score, but they have to count that 9-5.
Here's UCLA's Jill Andrews on the uneven bars, and Kathy, the Bruins have really been hurt today by the lack of depth.
And I think it's really hurt Jill. She's just not been quite as sharp as she normally is. No major mistakes, though. It's a nice Jaeger front. Giant swing with a full pirouette over the top. Nice work. And the dismount, a front pike. Oh, and under-rotates at a big step. It's those things that I mean she's not as sharp as she usually is. She usually sticks every landing.
And in her last collegiate competition, Jill Andrews scores a 9.775 on the uneven bars. Meanwhile, Dee Foster is making mental preparations for her floor routine. Over on the balance beam is Michelle Bryant. Nebraska needed a good showing in this event, but they have been struggling, Kathy.
Well, the story here is Georgia on its last rotation on the floor really closed the gap, doing an excellent job there. And Nebraska, they're having their troubles here on the balance beam. They already have 2 low scores. One they'll have to count. They have already given Georgia the opportunity to move ahead in the next rotation. Switch leg lead. Oh, such a simple move to fall on them. Pressure is great. That should do it for them.
Over on the floor now, Dee Foster is ready to begin.
Dee is so dynamic. Look at that. Double pike somersault. She lays out the first somersault. Front somersault all the way through to a double back. Very explosive tumbling. She said earlier she loves this event. She's very much the performer. Front 1 1/4 somersault. Dee has so much difficulty jam-packed into this routine. She's going to close with the double back. Pulls it around. Just makes it. It's really nice. She not only does difficult tumbling passes, she has difficult dance as well. Nice routine. Very impressive.
Dee Foster is having an incredible day.
As we take a look at her first tumbling pass, keep in mind this was a clutch performance. She was in a must-hit situation, and she certainly came through.
And another great score for Dee Foster, a 9.80 on the floor. And coming up, the pressure is back on Utah as the Lady Utes move to the beam. Back in Corvallis, Oregon, getting ready for the 5th rotation. There's the leaderboard, but to simplify the picture, we have averaged the scores, and at this point, Utah is still scoring the best. Kathy, after 4 rotations, it doesn't seem like there are any overt surprises.
No, it's still a head-to-head competition between Alabama and Utah. Alabama, having competed on 3 events, though, is averaging 9.69. Utah, however, only competing on 2 events so far, is averaging a 9.8. So it seems as though they're in the driver's seat. But looks can be deceiving. Alabama has put a lot of pressure on Utah because they've already competed on balance beam and done a magnificent job so far. Utah's on its way to balance beam, and no matter how good you are on that event, it's still the balance beam.
Okay, and Dan Jiggets is over with Utah coach Greg Marsden.